A trade that went down yesterday in the NFL sets the asking price for A.J. Brown. We talk about it here on this episode of Eagles Latest on Fan Arch. What's going on, everybody? Cory Nidoh, your host, with you back for the Friday edition of Eagles Latest. And there was some big-time news that came out of the NFL yesterday, and we are going to talk about it here this afternoon. And we are going to start with the DJ Moore trade. One of the top wide receivers for the Chicago Bears is heading to Buffalo as the Bills traded their second and fifth round picks to get Moore and to get Josh Allen a legitimate number one weapon. Now, why is that important for the Philadelphia Eagles? Well, that gives Howie Roseman leverage if, and I repeat, if he decides to trade him, because now a team like the Patriots or even the Baltimore Ravens, who have been reportedly in the mix now for A.J. Brown's services, they know that Roseman will be holding pat with at least a first-round pick. And again, as it was mentioned earlier in the week, the Eagles want another top 100 pick. So DJ Moore is worth a second and a fifth. Then A.J. Brown is definitely worth at least a first-round pick and then some. So I think that it does help the Eagles out in that regard. Again, I'm not saying Howie Roseman wants to trade A.J. Brown. However, he put out an asking price. People reported it, and teams will need to meet it. And I just don't know if teams will meet the first-round pick that Howie Roseman is looking for. I mean, if you look at what the Eagles traded to get A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans on draft day back in 2022. It was a first-round pick, the Eagles' 18th overall selection, and then their third rounder, which was the 101st pick. So I'm not saying that they get a first and a third offered, but I don't blame Howie Roseman for asking for that because, again, A.J. Brown still is one of the top wide receivers in the league. You can bash him all you want for his effort, for him allowing the frustration to settle in. And again, I've said this on this podcast multiple times. You can't defend that for A.J. Brown. You can't let that happen next season if he does, in fact, come back or stays with the team. But if you're comparing numbers between DJ Moore and A.J. Brown has put up better numbers in certain categories than DJ Moore, Moore has played one more season than AJ right now, but DJ Moore hasn't put up a 1,000-yard season since 2023 when he was with Chicago. He had over 1,300 yards that season and a career-best 8 touchdowns. Over the last 2 seasons, he's had 966 yards, 682 yards respectively, and 6 touchdowns. In his career, in 131 games, he has 608 catches for a little over 8,200 yards and 41 total touchdowns. Now you look at A.J. Brown, he has posted 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons and 6 total in 7 seasons. DJ Moore has 4 and 8. So right there, A.J. Brown just putting up more yards than Moore. In 105 games for AJ, he has 8,029 yards, so roughly 200 yards behind DJ Moore with one less season, and he has 56 touchdowns, which is 15 more than what DJ Moore has. So AJ Brown is definitely worth at least a first-round pick if you are looking at what the Bills just gave Chicago for DJ Moore. And I'm not sliding DJ Moore. I think he's a very solid wide receiver. However, there's people saying, oh, the Eagles will never get that. That's crazy that Howie Roseman's asking for it. Well, that's twofold. A, he's asking for that because he knows most teams probably won't want to give that up. And B, if a team does decide to do it, he's getting the most for one of the top wide receivers when he's on his game in return. So to me, Howie Roseman, I think, is playing this rather well. So that's enough about the AJ talk. I know that a lot of people might be getting tired of it. It just seems to be the never-ending saga across the league. Maybe we find out sooner than later what happens here with the Bills seemingly and obviously out of the AJ sweepstakes, although I wasn't really sure if they were truly in on AJ Brown, and maybe it's a two-horse race between Baltimore and New England if they actually make deals. So we'll see what happens on that front. But we're going to move over to Lane Johnson. Is he recruiting Max Crosby? Yesterday, Johnson posted a cryptic tweet on X, stirring the pot on social media. He posted the eye emoji and then tagged Max Crosby, the star edge rusher from the Las Vegas Raiders, who a couple of weeks ago wasn't expected to be traded. And then yesterday, the front office of Las Vegas said that they will entertain trading the star pass rusher. So Lane Johnson's tweet obviously spread like wildfire across all of the realm of the Eagles social media landscape and nationally. And normally when Lane tweets something, there's usually a reason behind it. And he's in the know with what the team is thinking, where the team might be heading. So just speculating here, but perhaps there are more conversations being had between the Eagles and the Raiders that are a little bit more serious than just sending a feeler out to see the status on Max Crosby. Now, Crosby appeared to be amazed by the fan base in Philadelphia when the Raiders came to play Philadelphia back in December. He was on a podcast mentioning the tailgating scene. He was taking pictures of that. He said the rowdiness of the crowd, being in the heart of the city where the visiting teams play. He seemed to love every moment of it. So I think he would easily handle the not even criticism, because he plays so well, I don't think there would be criticism, but he would handle the passion of this city for its football team. And we'll see, maybe Howie Roseman ends up completely doing a 180 and says, you know what, this is a rare occurrence where a player of this caliber is available, and we're going to make a big splash move. And it's going to be a big splash. The asking price is high, at least 2 first-round picks the Raiders are looking for. So that poses the question that I ask you. What would you rather the Eagles do? Trade the high draft capital for Max Crosby, who's sensational, or re-sign Jalen Phillips, which seems to be the top thing to do on the to-do list for Howie Roseman and the Eagles, or sign Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals, who recently became a free agent as Cincinnati just absolutely botched that situation by not trading him last year and getting value for one of the better pass rushers, and now you just let him walk. Cincinnati's a disaster and a dumpster fire, but that's for another day. For me, as much as I think of a defensive line featuring Jalen Carter and Max Crosby would be just absolute cinema to watch on a weekly basis, I just don't know if it's the smart move for the Eagles. They have a lot of draft picks, yes, but foregoing 2 first-round picks, that is a very steep price. Now, if you sign Hendrickson, that also has its negatives. He's going to command a lot of money as well. And perhaps more than Phillips on a yearly basis. I do think Jalen might get more guaranteed money up front in the open market because he's a bit younger than Hendrickson. But I posed the question on X over at Cory_Nidoh, and a solid amount of the responses were to re-sign Phillips over bringing in Crosby or Hendrickson. And I kind of think I'm in that same boat. And again, it's kind of crazy to say, right? But 2 first-round picks is a lot. Now, Crosby a year ago signed a $106.5 million extension with Las Vegas. That includes $91.5 million guaranteed money. And I think that only obviously contenders will be able to fork over the asking price for a Max Crosby. Now, the Dallas Cowboys were reportedly close to a deal until rival teams apparently put more chips in, according to ESPN's Trey Wingo. Rival teams, that would mean the Eagles. So it's Howie Roseman entering the chat, so to speak. And Dallas is funny. They ship off Micah Parsons. Yes, they got a couple of first round, second round picks, but now they're willing to send those picks to get Max Crosby, which, I mean, why not just keep Micah Parsons? I know there's a little bit of a rift there, but Jerry Jones is going to do Jerry Jones things, right? But you look at Max Crosby, I would not say that anybody who wants him is being outlandish or being crazy. I mean, he's a 5-time Pro Bowler. I know the Pro Bowl has become a disaster in its own right, but he is a incredible talent. You look at his numbers, he plays pretty much every game of the year. This year he played in 15 games. The Raiders were kind of keeping him out, which he wasn't thrilled with. He had 10 sacks, another double-digit sack season. That's his third in the last 4 years. He's led the league in tackles for losses in 22 and 23. He had 28 TFLs this past season, which was more and a career high than when he led the league those 2 years, and he didn't pace the league in that department, but still 28 TFLs, 20 quarterback hits. Now, there is some worry. Is he declining? Potentially. Marcus Mosher put out a tweet and listed Max Crosby's pressures by season. 2021, he had over 115. 2022, he dropped to 90. 23, he was back at the century mark. But each of the last 2 years, only 62 and 55 pressures. So that's certainly something to keep an eye out for. Now, the Raiders defense is nowhere near as good as what the Eagles defense will be. So I think the pressures would mount up more and back to maybe that 100 mark because of all the weapons that Philadelphia has. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. But man, what a potential landing spot it would be if Max Crosby was able to come to Philadelphia. Last topic of today's episode, I'm going to go back to the wide receiver talk, but discuss a potential wideout that recently became a free agent who I think could be a really good fit for the Eagles, and that is former Atlanta Falcon Darnell Mooney. Mooney was just released by the Falcons, so he will be a free agent, and he's an interesting cat. I mean, I think that he still has some juice. He's obviously not an A.J. Brown or a Devontae Smith, but I do think he might slightly be better than Jahan Dotson. Now, you look at the career of Mooney, he's dealt with some injuries in the past, which is always a red flag. This year in 15 games, didn't have great numbers. He had 443 yards receiving, only 1 touchdown. But what stands out to me with Mooney is that he's averaged over 13 yards per catch in each of the last 3 seasons. So he is a pretty talented wide receiver in terms of big plays, and his bread and butter is working over the middle, and that is certainly something what the Eagles can use. I mean, if you look and compare it to A.J. Brown averages 15.3 yards per reception. So you got Darnell Mooney a little less than 2 yards behind A.J. in that category. But, I mean, I think that Mooney could be a really good fit in the Sean Mannion offense. I think, obviously, if A.J. Brown is still with the Eagles, he's on the outside as the alpha. Devontae Smith, there's a lot of hype and positivity surrounding what he's going to look like in this offense. And then for Mooney, it's going to work well because Mannion's going to pull from that Shanahan-McVay tree. You've got play-action crossers, some slot fades from Mannion most likely. And Mooney's best routes are over the middle, deep out, slants. He can hit you with the crossers. So I do think he is a natural wide receiver 3 in an Eagles offense that needs that position specifically. And what another bonus is that he does not have a comp pick attached to him. So The Eagles wouldn't have to give up a draft pick to Atlanta if they were to acquire him. And I do think that this would be a really good fit. And of all the free agent wide receivers that are currently out there, including Christian Kirk, who we highlighted yesterday, I do think Mooney would be the best fit of Kirk. And then you have Naylor from the Minnesota Vikings. Romeo Doubs has also been kind of floating around with the connection with Sean Mannion. I think Dobbs wants to be a wide receiver too. I think he'll want too much money for what the Eagles are willing to pay the wide receiver 3. But I think Mooney could be a really nice addition for the Eagles. So with that said, that will do it for the final episode of this week. As always, it does seem to be a busy time for the Eagles, whether it's directly or indirectly. And let me know what you think. Do you want Max Crosby in Midnight Green? I mean, it would be absolutely epic with him and Jalen Carter side by side. You've got Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, Jalix Hunt. I mean, the list goes on and on. But do you want to cough up those first round picks? That, I think, is the biggest thing that would hang up a deal for the Eagles. But maybe Howie Roseman just doesn't care, and he wants to be aggressive and continue to build a super team to try and win at least one more Super Bowl in this window. As always, thanks so much for tuning in. Please let me know your thoughts. Drop a comment. Love to interact with you. Drop a like, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button and tell your friends about Eagles Latest. We're pushing 300 subscribers. Love to get that over the next few weeks. We will talk to you on Monday. Free agency starts next week. Legal tampering starts on Monday, and free agency officially begins next Wednesday, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. Have a great weekend, and talk to you soon.